Hmm.
Hey,
And
we're
we're
live.
live. Hey everyone, it's Geek Out here, bringing another scenario back to you. So for those of you guys who've been watching our journey, we're all about trying to make ClickFunnels and the surrounding tech bend to your will, whether it be the strategy or the technology itself. That is what we love to dive into. And what's really important to us, because between Susan, Dan, and our fourth, Nicole, and myself, we have built over 250 funnels and just seen a lot of different situations. And a lot of times when we approach things, it's important to us to not approach it from how does the technology work or features and functions, but instead approaches it through the customer journey. And the best way to do that is through a thing we like to call scenarios. So Susan has been working very hard on a very common scenario that we get all the time. And I don't think that there is one magic way to solve this, but today we are going to kind of let you peek behind the curtains as we are building this scenario out to be able to teach others and give you the tools and resources to be able to do it. So, Susan, what do you got for us? I'm so excited.
Okay. All right. So here's what we've been working on. And this begins with, I'll do like a quick peek, but I don't want to spend time focusing on this. This began with Andrea going out and like, we always grab like, what do other people do, right? True funnel hacker style. What are other people doing? What can we model this off of? So these are our screenshots of other companies and creating like, what happens if someone's trying to cancel with them? And then we have, okay, what is ClickFunnels, specifically 2.0, allowing us to do? What is the process for a customer to cancel within ClickFunnels 2.0? And then where I went with it was like, okay, what are our options of creating an experience around a cancellation funnel? So I came up with two options, but we're going to skip that. And we're going to go over to here because I think this is the one that I've landed on. So let me get everyone oriented to what's going on. And this is also here. Let me scroll into this. These are the assumptions that we are making for this scenario. This is like the scenario. The scenario is that a subscription customer is requesting to cancel via direct outreach somewhere. They've emailed in, they've sent a DM somewhere, like they're saying, I want to cancel. And there isn't like a button for them to just go and do it, right? Or you have provided a button, but this is what it's going to lead to, what we're about to map out. The other assumption is that you only have one plan option, meaning there isn't anything for them to like upgrade or downgrade to. It's just like you either are in or you're out. Those are your options. And the other part of the scenario is that you're handling the cancellation manually. The reason why that is part of the scenario is because what we've learned via the research process of how does ClickFunnels handle cancellations is that it's actually not a great experience to tell your customers to go cancel themselves. So we're going to start off with this scenario of like you're handling it manually. Okay, I'm going to stop there. Are we good on our scenario? Is everyone following, tracking what we're doing here?
Can I just ask one question on that one, Susan? So I think when you say handling it manually, and I know we're going to get into it, it's not necessarily that you don't leverage automations internally, but it's that you're controlling the point of request. So it's not 100% a DIY cancellation experience for the customer. It's something that you are intervening in, where they have to ask for it. It triggers then your own. Some could be a manual, something you do, but some could be an automated. So it's not that you're not leveraging internal automations, but it's that they're not DIYing it, right?
Yeah. So when I say, and I added words, I don't know if they help at all, but the act of cancellation, meaning once it's very clear that this subscription is going to get canceled, there is human interaction in the actual canceling of it. But we're using automations both before that event happens and after that event happens. We're removing the like I was saying before of like the customer going and canceling it on their own. We're instead going to cancel it for them once that decision has reached its final decision point.
Awesome.
And that'll become clear as we start going through this. So as I'm going through this, please, both Andrea and Dan, hi Dan, I know you haven't said any words yet, interject with thoughts, ideas, and let's like make this thing the best that it can be. Okay.
Well, and I just want to be clear. The reason why you said you're doing this is because the process of actually having somebody go and do it on their own can be quite daunting. And all that's going to do, I mean, sure, they're already leaving you, but you don't want to leave them in a bad space about it either. They said, hey, I want out, whatever, life changes, whatever. You go, okay, cool. I'll just take care of it for you. And
Great
you go
point.
in and you do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so 2 things I want to say about that. Let's just take a look at this really quick. Here is the process of someone having to cancel it on their own. This is after they've logged into the customer center. So they have to go log in. Obviously, like the system needs to know who it is that is trying to cancel. So you have a login. Once they're logged in, they need to get to their account settings. I've called it account settings. ClickFunnels calls it customer center, like the back end that looks like this, where they can handle managing their billing and everything. They land on this page, and I'm realizing I can probably make this a little bit bigger. Let me adjust my window size. There we go. Okay, they're in here. So this page here, and it will list all of the things that they're subscribed to. This is my test account, so there's a lot of cancels. But if they've only joined one thing, you can see like I'm on a trial right now. Then they have to click on this button and then click cancel. So there's like 3 or 4 steps and clicks for them to get here. And you have to explain, click the button with the 3 dots and then click cancel. Even if they click up here on manage account, there's a couple more clicks that have to happen, even if they enter into there. So it's not very straightforward, and you would have to provide a video or some instructions telling them how to cancel, which does not make a great experience. At that point, it's like, I'm just going to handle it for you just to make your last experience with me a good one.
And the other thing is just from a time standpoint, because so you go through the trouble of creating a video, or you go through trouble of creating a checklist, and then you give it to them, and then they try to go through it, and then they got to send you another help ticket and go, hey, I couldn't figure out how to do this. And then, you're going back and forth 3 or 4 times. It takes you 30 seconds to go in here and go click, click, and they're gone. Versus 30 minutes, an hour or 2, and somebody who's not happy with you in the end.
And now they're really not happy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other thing with that is, ideally, you're not, if someone's requesting to cancel, you're not just going to say, okay, like this happens. And I will admittedly say that I do this in our own right now because we don't have this set up for us yet, which we're fixing. If someone requests a cancel, you don't want to just say like, great, see you later and cancel, right? You want to try to rectify the situation. You want to try to save them, give them some sort of offer. And if you don't have what we're about to lay out, the system, which I'll just show the overview of, you're having that conversation back and forth in DMs or email instead of just having a pre-thought out experience where you can just send them a link of like, okay, if you want to cancel, we'll just go into the first step. So the customer has requested to cancel. We're just saying they've emailed or DM'd. They've requested to cancel, and then you're going to have to reply. So there's a human interaction there, right? You have to reply to it. It can be a templated response, directing them to the next step. So you're not, at this point, you're not saying, oh, please don't cancel, or wouldn't you rather see this other offer? You're just kind of hearing them, accepting that this is what they're requesting right now. And you say, if there's a problem that they're complaining about, obviously take care of that problem if you can. But you can simply just say like, here is the link where you can request a cancellation. And then it can be as simple as that. Okay, so these 2 steps, we're not even in a funnel yet, but it's part of the experience because it's what's happening. So then you can send them to the next step. The next step being the first page, like a literal funnel page in your funnel, in a cancellation funnel. I wanted to point out here, though, that while most experiences of canceling here, and even in the ones that we've researched, the process happens when they're logged into their account. in this here, there's not an account that they're logging into. So we're skipping the login to an account step because that can be kind of cumbersome too, right? Especially if maybe you don't even have a membership area. Maybe your products that you sell aren't even membership area related, or maybe you're using a different, like ClickFunnels Classic, for example, like we do for holding the membership stuff. And so then you're having to say like, okay, but go log in over here and create your account over here just so that they can go cancel. Like that's not a great experience either.
Well, I think a perfect example of that would be is you sell a subscription to somebody, but it's a month, a box of the month club. So every month they get a box in the mail. Well, they don't have a membership area to log into. You're just sending them a book every month, let's say. You're sending them socks every month. And so there's not going to be anywhere for them to log into. But as you're going through this process here, and I don't know, I haven't seen what the rest of this is I'm starting to think in my mind is like with the API going forward, if you go through enough steps in here, the very last step, like I said, it could be on the right-hand side of your screen here, is they put in their email address, they click a button through the API, it does an automatic cancellation. Or you could keep it to yourself and have that page just somewhere where you know it is. And then when you know for sure that they're ready to cancel, you can just pop up that page, put in their email address, hit the button, and boom, the API takes care of it.
Yeah.
I love that idea.
So this is one of the reasons why we have Dan here and we're laying out this plan in front of him, because we know this is version 1 of this, right? This is like out of the box. How can we make this happen? But we know that Dan can go make this so much better and help make it more automated. And yeah, maybe we wouldn't have to have the manual part at all, which would be great. Okay. So here's the rest of what happens. Okay. So we have them submit some sort of form on a funnel, right? They have to, basically they're raising their hand saying, yep, this is me. I'm wanting to cancel. Okay. Then they land on another page, which is not canceling them yet. It is basically giving them 2 options. Either, hey, actually, do you want to have this special deal that I'm going to give you? And I put a couple of examples on here. Do you want to get your next month at 50% off? Or do you want to get your next 3 months at 1% off? Like the video streaming services are, really good at this, right? You go to cancel and they're like, oh, do you actually just want the next 3 months for $1.99 or whatever it is? That's what we're doing here. So giving them a special offer, just one, don't give them 2. I just have these laid out as examples. Give them 1 special offer, or they can say, no, thank you. I just really want to cancel.
I'll just make a quick note here on what do you give them to come back, right? Like what is your save? So Russell talks a lot about MIFKI to get people in. There's a whole art and science to like, what are the saves, right? So I've seen people get really, really, really complicated with it based on their customer segmentation and what would be valuable to that person in order to save, right? I think as a general rule of thumb, I think it depends on what your product is. So for instance, most of the time when people cancel SaaS products, it's either because they don't know. The number one reason is they don't know how to use it, right? Like there's a user experience problem. They're not quite sure how to use it. They're not getting the value of it. And so therefore they want to cancel. So you offering a discount of the software doesn't solve that problem. It's not incentive for them to come back, right? So instead, I love what you just said there, Susan. Instead, if like software in general, if you have some education services to support the software, or you have like group training, right? It could be something where like, yes, sure, give them a discount. Like, hey, how about we give you, 10 days for free. And during that time, you could sign up for one of these educations, you know what I mean? To see if we, you know what I mean? To like make, before you make up your mind, basically. So I would say get creative with, your product and your customers. Give them things that are of value of why they would be leaving in the first place. And going back, Susan, I love what you said there. Ask the reason they're canceling, because then this is a system that feeds itself. You can continue to get better at the incentives, the save incentives based on your learning of why they're canceling.
Well, what I was going to say there is then as part of this process, you could make a page in here that said, hey, really sorry to see you go. Do you mind if we ask why? And give them 3 things that they can check, the 3 top reasons. And then, for each one that they click on, then it takes them to a different page, which has a different special offer to be able to keep them in.
Yeah.
Right.
Love it.
So that would be this page that you just described, Dan. Yeah. Because then you can stick the reasons predetermined so that you can have it map like, hey, if they chose this reason, have them go to this page, which gives them this save offer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you could potentially have copies of this step with slightly different, maybe it's the same offer, but the thing that you're giving them in addition to like the discount or whatever. I like what you said, Andrea, of like, hey, why don't we just give you the next 10 days or whatever free? Why don't we just give you the next month free and you get to go through this other program too? Like whatever it is that makes sense for your offer.
Yeah.
So then after this point, they either take the offer or they don't, right? Actually, let me back up because there's another thing that could happen. They either click and check out. They either click and say, no, thank you, or they close this page. So we have to account for that too. So I have, we'll get to that one. So let's go. The first one is that they take your offer. So then you'll send them to, I think that this page has the checkout on it. It's either right there on the page or it's a pop-up, but it is the checkout. We don't need to make them click another time, right? We are already risking them just leaving this page.
Mm-hmm.
So their checkout is right here on the page. So then they go to a confirmation page.
Ooh, and Susan, that is good. That is good.
I came up with this the other day when I was doing this live in our group, mapping all this out. I'm like, okay, what can we use this confirmation page for? Give them their next steps. That you are about to lose this person as a customer. So how do you not lose them as soon as this promo is over? Go back to what you did to even get them into it to begin with, right? Remind them of why they even joined, cover those false beliefs. And now if you have specific information about why they were about to cancel, you can cater it to that. Help them to step back into the identity that they were stepping into when they even joined. And then everything should be driving them to take some sort of action to get them going, right? A lot of the times people cancel because they weren't even using it, right? That's not every time, but a lot of the times I think it's because they just didn't even take any action and they're like, why am I paying for this thing? So if you can get them to take that action, kind of like what Andrea was saying before, of like, what could you give them? The action might be like, hey, I just gave you this special thing. Go do it. Go take the first step in doing that.
Yes.
Susan,
and then we've got to take a moment. You did brilliance on this screen. Like it is brilliant, and it is brilliant for so many reasons. But I think the thing I love the absolute most is that true to Geek Out form and true to how we like to serve I think it would be very easy for someone at that last page to be like, I got him back. I convinced him. Right. And like, you kept the buck, you know what I mean? But now it's like the reason they probably left in the first place is because of this part, right? In terms of like, you've got work to do on the fulfillment side. You've got work to do on the love and caring and nurturing of your customer. And so I love that there is so much love infused into this page of just the like, honoring those false beliefs, helping them step back into the identity. Yes, reconnecting them with community, like getting them back into action and forward progress and forward momentum. So good. This is, oh man, that's awesome.
Well, to put it in much shorter, you have to get them back into the state they were in when they bought originally.
Yeah.
That's really it. So, you got the buyer in heat. You hear the term all the time, and you got to get them back to that point.
I'd say though it's that, but it's the desire to do the thing that they set out to do to begin with, right? It's that vision of their future of why did they even join your program?
Yeah. And there are times we also have to remember here. There are times when people are leaving because, let's say somebody was in the real estate industry and they had some software or whatever, and they left the real estate business. Well, I mean, they're gone. Just, you also need an easy off ramp for people too. It's just like, so in your questions of why you're thinking about doing this, you go, I left the industry might be one of the check boxes. And if so, boom, you go straight from there to the I'm done page, because they don't need it anymore if they're not in that business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, good point, Dan. Okay, I'll get to the blue bubbles too. Well, I'll just get to this one. We'll finish this one up. So this is just representing your emails, the workflow that you will be sending them into. And it's the same thing. Put them in, send them an email or a series of emails that is trying to accomplish the same thing of getting them back into that state and reminding them of what their next step is and getting them back in the community.
You know, another thing at this point is basically giving them essentially what amounts to an onboarding call, because they missed something along the way. There might have been something along the way. They missed a class, they missed a training. So maybe it's time at this point here to get them on the phone and just go, get them on Zoom and just go, okay, where did we lose you? And they go, well, I can't figure out how to do this. Oh, well, let me show you how to do it. It may be that. It may be 15-minute Zoom call to get somebody back in here who's going to stay with you for years to come.
Yeah. Yeah. Great idea. Okay. So that's option or potentially the choice number one. The next one is they are like Dan said, no, this isn't even for me anymore. No, thank you. Please cancel. And so at that point, landing them on a page that just states, again, we're assuming a human is going to actually do the canceling. So it's just telling them that the request has been received. Give them whatever your rules are around that, whatever the expectations are, like we'll process within 24 hours. And if you have a policy around, like a lot of people are canceling like the night before because they know they're about to get charged, right? But maybe they don't get it in by time. You don't get it canceled by the time they get charged again. So you could have a policy around like, if you get charged during this time, we'll refund your payment. Like just ease their mind that you're taking care of them.
Yeah, that's really good.
Okay, now my question is, so somebody gets to this page, how does it notify you that you then have to go and cancel them?
Workflows. You can set up notifications in your workflows.
Now, but you get notified how? Do you get notified through an email, text message?
You can get notified through email at the moment. I mean, you could probably set up a notification through a text message, but that would require like a third party and Zapier. But as far as in ClickFunnels 2.0, right now you can set up easily set up a notification to just get emailed every time somebody. You can do it based on if they land on this page. So you don't have to get notified every time they start going through this process, but you can get notified every time somebody literally lands on the page.
So they land on the page, they click a button, says, no mas, I'm done. Click the button, you
get
an email.
Or based on button click here, you may possibly.
So somewhere along the way, they're going to click a button, it triggers an email, you get notified, you can go in and process it.
Exactly. Well, but I don't think you have to get notified. You might be getting there. So keep going, Susan. I don't think it has to be you doing it.
Oh, you know what?
Well, somebody gets notified. Means your team. Yeah.
No, I think the system can do it.
I'm trying to think because I think I know where you're going, but I don't know that it's possible. So because you're talking about having the workflow cancel it.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's possible.
Well, because if so, then
that's why we've been doing this whole scenario. Like the human has to cancel it.
Why are we doing this?
Let's see. Well, no, the reason we're doing it is ultimately to create a better experience and try to save the customer. That's why we're trying to.
Yeah,
that's
but
why
we're started off with talking about going in what the process is to go in and actually do the cancellations where we started here. So if this can be done automatically, then through a workflow,
then we don't need that stuff at all. Yeah, we wouldn't need to do that. I'm logging into ClickFunnels 2.0 just to verify.
Wait. Sorry. I want to make sure I'm understanding what you guys are saying. We would still need everything you've had up to this point.
I know, but you're saying, so this is the critical piece of a human needs to interject to actually do the canceling.
Mm-hmm.
And you are saying that they don't and that it can happen automatically.
I think it can. Yeah. I'm opening it up too.
I'm opening it up too because maybe.
Okay, so everybody who's watching this, just,
this is what Geek Out is all about.
Do.
If you're new here. And this is what we are all about.
Yeah.
Deal with it.
But up to this point, nothing would change. Everything that Susan laid out is like so spot on perfect. Nothing would change. It's exactly what you should do.
I'm not seeing a way to cancel in a workflow. So am I not understanding what your thought is there, Andrea?
Yeah, let me pull it up right here.
That's why I had mentioned earlier about eventually, once we get more familiar with using the API, to be able to use that to just have a button on the page, which would then automatically do the cancellation.
Yeah. So we know that there's a trigger event of cancel flow, right? So it is I'm just in there right now.
Meaning if someone's subscription cancels, we can add them into a workflow based off of that being the trigger. That's what you mean by that, yeah?
Yeah. Yep. That's exactly what I mean. Okay. And the reason why I'm so it's a little convoluted. So Dan, I like your recommendation and your solution better than what I'm about to say. So, but let me just triple check before I say it.
Well, if it can be done built in, and right now, if it can be done, then that's much easier than the API, because as of right now, I don't know of anybody who's written any API calls. So that's uncharted territory at this point.
Okay. Well, I think Warren might have, but okay. So my thought process was on mini automations when an opportunity enters into a stage. I believe that you can trigger, and that's where I'm going right now.
There's no trigger for canceling. I'm looking at it right now, and let me try to get to a spot where I can show this.
Well, is there anywhere in the workflows that says cancel a subscription? Because the trigger can be clicking a button. Okay. Well,
no, that's there's a trigger, but not a
share this tab. Okay, you guys are seeing now the ClickFunnels backend. So you're thinking the stages would be able to trigger it. And so if we click on here, there's automations. We can add one. The trigger, it could be like when someone enters the stage, but there is not a cancel. These are the same triggers that we have available in workflows, and it does not include cancel.
What about unenrolled contact? Was that?
No, that's just from courses.
Access. Yep, that's just access in a members area.
Not a subscription. Dang. Okay, I thought I saw it there.
And there's not a way to cancel a product or anything like that, because once a sale is made, you're pretty much because once a sale is made, it's part of the system then.
So you do need to have the human get involved, and unless you're going through that whole process of trying to explain to them where to go do it themselves, which is not good. And we mentioned that earlier on if you're just joining us. So okay, so
no, just thinking. So just along like the notification path of like sending it to your team. So now that we know, like, okay, it has to be a human, it has to be manual. I wonder if it could be, I mean, we could send an email, but I'm wondering too, if we can leverage the team messenger bot in the message hub.
Maybe, but that's not available to everybody right now. So we might be able to do it, but also I think they're still working on building that thing. So okay. So and this will grow and expand, right? This is again just basic scenario. That's why we're going to have a lot of these scenarios, because this is this scenario. In the future, when we have more capabilities, we'll create another one that is like, okay, now how do we automate this thing? Okay, so we've landed here. They've said, no, thank you. I just want to cancel. They land on this page. You just tell them it's been received, because the human has to get involved in this particular setup to make the cancellation. So you can get notified. A team member can get notified. They can log in, couple clicks, and they've been canceled. Now, the experience doesn't end there, because then you can have them, based on their cancellation, automatically get put into a workflow where you can, of course, notify them like you've canceled your subscription. This is an email that they'd get right away. That's basically repeating what you have on this page. At this point, I think you would probably just have them in a wait period until it's true that the subscription has been canceled, right? Like a conditional wait period. I think we could do it based on that. Otherwise, you can split it up into a couple workflows. But this is not the time for the details. And then once it has been canceled, you can trigger the confirmation email, any other emails that you could possibly give them. Maybe the email includes like, did you like, you made a mistake. Do you want to join back? Here's how you would do that. Whatever last minute try and Hail Mary save you want to try. Or like, here's the other ways you can, because just because somebody cancels on you doesn't mean they're out of like everything that you do. So this email, I would also include like, here's the other ways that you can still get support from me. You're still in my community. You can still watch my content. Like, here's the free resources you still have available to you. Like, use this as an opportunity to say like, I'm still here. I can still serve you. Looking forward to you joining again in the future, possibly, or something like that. Because sometimes people are canceling because it's just not the right time, or like they're having a bad month of finances, and they're like, I just need to like not have this for now, but I plan to join again later, right? You never know unless you've specifically asked that question maybe earlier on. So,
yeah, and okay. if they want to unsubscribe from your emails, they can unsubscribe because there's an unsubscribe link on every single one of them.
Right. Yeah. So this doesn't mean the end of all communication with them. It just means they're no longer paying you for that specific offer. That doesn't mean they're not still a viable customer for you. So treat them as best as you can.
Not only that, even if they're not a good customer, or if it really is not a good fit, right? The word of mouth makes a big difference, you know? So
and having someone have a really good last experience with you could be what wins them over in the future too. Like, you know, they really actually took care of me. I'm going to go back to them. Right. Okay. There's one more thing, one more possibility to account for. And that was what if they just X off of this page and they didn't actually tell you for sure yes or for sure no. And they never landed on these pages that they either took the offer or didn't. So I think there's a couple ways you could go about it. That's what we have a blue bubble down here. I thought that maybe the best way to handle it would be to assume that they at least give them a chance before you say we're going to cancel you, cancel your subscription. So if they've opted in your form saying that they've canceled, but they don't take any other actions, I thought it probably would be good to send them an email, like asking them to take the action. Like, hey, there's action required. Your request isn't complete. You're still gonna, you're still live and active. It's still going. I would give them the link to go to the special offer page in that email so they can see it again. And then you're inviting them to make a choice. But then what I'm curious to know your thoughts, both you and Andrea and Dan, are what if they still don't click anything and take anything? Would you be of the mind of like, okay, after a certain amount of time, we're just going to cancel because they did raise their hand. They may not be expecting to get charged again after this point. And so we should probably just we'll let them know like, hey, your subscription will be canceled if you don't take action in X amount of days.
I don't know that I would say that because you're basically, they would say like, oh, I've already wanted to cancel, so cancel me, right? So I would just leave it as like action is still required. And then I would try it one more time. Say, hey, just a reminder, action is still required. And then probably after 3 or 4 days, then go through the auto cancel process.
Yes, that was my thought process there. This would be more than one email. This doesn't represent just one email.
I'm just the exact opposite. Because first off, what is it that triggers this whole process here? They sent you an email saying that they wanted to cancel?
Well, okay. Sorry, I'm clicking the wrong thing. Yes, but if you think about like your expectations of like, okay, I've already told a human that I want to cancel. They sent me to this other thing where I've already filled out a form saying I want to cancel. And then if they kind of X out, maybe they're in a hurry. Maybe they didn't even read it because they're like, they're just trying to sell me another thing. And they didn't even realize what they were landing on. And then they get charged again. I can imagine that they're going to be pissed when they thought that they had canceled. Like, I submitted your form. Why are you still charging me?
Okay. Well, in that case, then, because they've already went to this page.
They've already done 2 actions saying I want to cancel.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess at that point, then if they don't go to the next step, you just send them an email. It's like, hey, you did not continue, you didn't finish the process, but we'll assume you want to still cancel. If we don't hear back from you within 5 days, we're going to cancel you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
The
I think you're right then. Yeah.
The only other thing that I would be careful about and be aware of is like I said earlier, some people are canceling like the day before they're about to get charged. So it's possible that they get charged during this period of action required.
But again, if you're doing a manual, what I would say is if you're doing a manual cancellation, I would make part of your procedure to look at it and go, okay, were they charged in the last 5 days? And if so, then just automatically refund them anyway. Just have some sort of policy around that.
Also, and Andrea, I know you're about to say something. Okay, maybe you have the solution. Go ahead. I'll say.
No. Go ahead.
Okay, I was gonna say you could make it part of your habit of like stick to the 24-hour thing. Maybe you do have a special notification that you get for if someone's opted in. Maybe you still need to get notified if someone's just done this opt-in step, because you could have you or your team member go in and check if like, okay, this person said that they would cancel. We see that they didn't make a choice, but they're about to get charged. You can move their charge date out. So maybe it's just like they are changing the date of their next charge out a week while this process has a chance to take place. That way you don't have to deal with the refunding or an upset person because they just got charged. Like it's still a manual thing, but it could save you a lot of headache.
No,
okay,
what would be interesting is if once they have the request and it triggers this whole process, it'd be nice if somewhere in the workflow it could go in there and stop any future charges.
Okay,
that would be nice.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I think that there's two different issues with this. One is, so what we do in Active Campaign around managing a subscription is that we're able to control a custom field on the contact record of when they start and when they cancel, right? And we can even do like when they trial, when they start, when they cancel. This is really important when you also are doing like subscription management and like churn rates and things like that. So we know that in ClickFunnels, there are custom fields on a contact record. We can't, through the UI or through triggers or anything intelligent, do anything with them yet. But we know that they're exposed in the API. So going back to your idea, Dan, of the being able to leverage the API to trigger off a cancellation, I also wonder if when we get the request, right, if we can somehow then send an API that's like a request cancel date. So then we have a record, right, of like, this is the date that they canceled. And then when we are going through the process of actually canceling them, if maybe within a certain window we offer a refund, but if it's within, 2 days of, or like within 3 days of the canceled request, then no refund is issued. It's just canceled. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, but again, that's a different scenario and we don't have that ability to do that at the moment.
Well, we do potentially through the API.
But we haven't done it. We haven't tested it and we haven't like written the code for it. So, so we don't have the ability to do that yet, but that could be where this evolves to for sure. Because there's too many, like even within this one scenario, we have a lot of possibilities happening and we need to account for as many of them as possible. And it would be a lot easier if we could just be able to do that, be able to use custom fields and API and have things automatically happening. Mm-hmm. So, okay. So that's the whole thing. This is just one scenario and we have a ton of other scenarios coming. What we're planning on doing, so this can, as we develop and evolve these, we'll keep updating them or creating new scenarios. Dan will write some cool stuff and make it all happen and we'll have a scenario of the automated version. But as we are creating these, we are going to be creating step-by-step training of like, okay, this is great overview. I understand the experience, but how do I actually make this happen inside of my account? How do I build this? How do I build the workflows? How do I make the parts that you were talking about being automated? How do we do that? So we're creating training around all of those pieces. We're calling it the Scenario Lab, and you can access that if you come be part of our Cornerstone program. So that's the vision of this. Okay, I'm going to stop there. Is there anything, Andrea or Dan, that you want to add to either this scenario specifically or just other thoughts on it?
No.
Just, I think the general thought is, I mean, you did an awesome job on this, Susan, and it's just so great to like see it all come to life, all of our conversations and all of the pain points that we've had with customers, right? And I think to hopefully, if nothing else, what this does for people is it really does think through that, like that journey crafting lens, right? It really tries to help you think through the customer experience lens and still the funnel technology and strategy that we all are on this journey of, right? And so I think it just combines both of those things really well. And it's super exciting to see. And I also can't wait to just systematize it. Which is fantastic.
Yeah. Yes, that's the next step. I imagine that as part of our scenario lab, where it is possible to give template versions of our scenarios, we will do that as we create them and build them. It's going to be really, really awesome. So I guess if you want to know how to join Cornerstone, you could do it. I'll put the link in the description below, but it is geekoutconnect.com/academy. We just dropped the price for joining. And we are, as we're launching scenario labs, we're reducing the price. So you're getting more for less. And you can go join that now. I think that the funnel is set up to give you a 30-day trial right now. So you can go there, check it out. We're updating that funnel literally in the back end right now. So it's in the works, but you can go sign up and get the right price. So we don't have any scenario lab training ready yet. But it's coming. This is step one, was making this flow. And now step two is go create the specific detailed training around it. And then we'll release it as we have them. And we're going to try to do one of these. I'm going to try to tackle one of these per week. So next Wednesday, if you want to join our CF 2.0 Geek Out community, which also I'll put the link below, but you can go to geekoutcommunity.com. Every Wednesday morning, I present a new scenario idea that we're working on. So this past Wednesday, I went live in the group and you guys saw the first version of this. And now we just hashed out a little bit more of the details, and it was great to be able to talk it through with Andrea and Dan. I think maybe we should just keep doing this. Let us know if you want to have us keep doing this.
Yeah. Or if you have a scenario that you want us to tackle. I mean, again, this is what we do every day, all day. And so I'd be really interested too, if there's a scenario out there that you guys have for us.
Yes. Awesome. Okay. I think that's it. Unless Dan has something else to throw in.
Nope. Not right now.
All right.
We need and for the scenario stuff, we need a way of like, give us your scenario and we'll geekify it.
Yes.
Well, if they join the Facebook groups, I'm sure they could probably ask a question in there.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. All right. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Thanks, guys.